Assalamualaikum. I'd like to first start in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. I ask His blessings upon His beloved Prophet, his family, and his companions. Ameen. So at first I wanted to start off with, by show of hands, how many of you before this conference has ever met a deaf Muslim? MashaAllah. See me after. I want to know who you met. And the reason being is we really want to connect these deaf Muslims with each other. Many of the deaf Muslims that I have met have been very isolated. So if you've met one, I want to know them too. So see me. So who am I? My name is Sarah Tisdale. I am the chapter coordinator for Global Deaf Muslim here in California. And I want to take you back about 4 years ago. I was at an ISNA conference, and like many of you here, I had never even given a thought to the fact that we have deaf Muslims in our community, honestly. Never even crossed my mind. But here I was, sitting there, just fascinated by the interpreters. Just watching it, and I was so amazed. And then, like you will have today, I got to see a deaf panel. And I got to hear about how it was growing up in a community that doesn't meet your needs. So today you're going to be able to hear some of those experiences. That experience for me changed my entire life. It changed my career goals, it changed what I want to do with my life, and it inspired a new motivation and passion for me. And now I'm dedicated, Insha'Allah, to serving the needs of deaf Muslims and ensuring that conferences like this is something that everyone can attend. Excuse me, I'm a little nervous, my voice is cracking. But also by a show of hands, how many of you rely predominantly on an English translation of the Quran? Okay, so at least half of you. I want you to, for a moment, imagine that didn't exist. No English translation. So even if it's not your primary one, I'm sure you reference it every once in a while. Now think to yourself, if that didn't exist at all, no English translation, how would that impact your Deen? How would that impact your relationship with the Quran and your relationship with Allah? That situation is a reality for deaf Muslims that they still live in. It's important to realize that ASL, American Sign Language, is not signed English. So the deaf community can't just pick up a copy of the Quran and have an in-depth understanding that many of us take for granted. So that's something I want you to keep in mind when we have our different presenters today. ASL is its own unique language. It has its own grammar, it has its own words, and it's a very visual language. I'm sure many of you have taken a look at our interpreters, and you know it's very gestural, a lot of facial expressions, etc. Okay, another question for you. And I think most of you this has happened. Who has gone to Jummah and realized that it was not in a language that they understood? Okay, I think that's the most hands I've seen. Again, imagine that was every Friday. You consistently went, you know that this was an obligation on you, you wanted to develop that connection with Allah, and you just sat there. And everything just went over your head. Again, this is the reality that most deaf Muslims living in this country live with every day. To my knowledge, how many mosques do you think have interpreters? Just some numbers. Okay, I'm hearing 0, 5, 3. 3 in the entire country, right? So if you don't live in Atlanta, or you don't live in Virginia, or if you don't live in New York, sorry. No interpreter for you. Right, so again, just keep this in mind with what you're going to be hearing today. So the other thing I wanted to mention, just a cultural note, and something for all of you to leave with is, we're going to use the term deaf with a capital D. And deaf indicates pride in their culture and in their language. Hearing impaired, on the other hand, implies a deficiency. It implies that something's wrong, you're impaired in some way. So when you refer to the deaf community, please use deaf with a capital D. With that said, we're going to have our first deaf panelist, Sister Rowena Opiani. Rowena?
Now, can you see me sign? No, I guess not. Okay. Are the interpreters ready? Okay. Well, so, Assalam. Anyway, my name is Ruina. And my topic is the Muslim identity. The reason why I'm here presenting to you as a representative today is because so many Muslims, you have to understand, they don't understand about the Muslim community, about the deaf community. So we must have access to the services that are out there. We must be assertive to get interpreters, and we must tell our friends so they can become Muslims and be included in our community. We have to learn. You know, I grew up at school, of course, and I was involved in various celebrations, for instance, Valentine's, Christmas, Easter. Of course, there's many celebrations, but not the Muslims' celebrations. We should have been included in those as well. Eid, we should have been included. But it was like we were rejected and marginalized. We should have been included in those celebrations. It's not fair. That's my Muslim identity. What about me? I'm Muslim and I want to be involved in the Muslim celebrations as well, and holidays. I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. You feel like that, do you? Can you raise your hands? Have you ever felt excluded? Well, there you go. Wow, a lot of you, wow. Also, you believe in the masjid, but you can't go to church. That's not our belief, of course. Myself, and my experiences, I'll share with you just briefly. I was born in Afghanistan, in Kabul, and I came to the United States when I was 2 years old, and I've been here ever since, and wow, what a great place to live. It was the best education, and now I'm at Deafness Valley College, and I'm happy. Life is good. I have interpreters. I have access. My parents knew no sign language whatsoever, and so I had to learn to read lips and to speak. I went to speech classes at elementary school continuously, and I'd get home and I'd sign with my sister. And understand, I have 2 deaf sisters who sign as well. And some of my family say, don't sign. They say, you have to speak. You have to use English. And I'm like, what? And we fight about that. And I wouldn't speak. And finally, I heard there was a deaf event. Oh, for Global Deaf Muslim. And I was like so enthusiastic. I thought I'd get involved. And now, for example, we have this one. We have the Muslim Student Association West Conference. And you have everything. Oh, I finally met so many deaf friends. And I'm so happy. Thank you. Hello, assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Well, my name, oh, yes. Oh, I'm so sorry. I couldn't hear you respond, so I just went on ahead. Whoa, anyway, my name is Hassan Haider, and I grew up in Pakistan, and I was there for many years, and I have to tell you the truth. As a deaf person, understand I was born deaf, and I went to a hearing school, and that was tough. Wow. People would talk, and their lips would move, and I would understand nothing. And I was so far behind in my language development. I was so frustrated. Then I went to a mosque. You know, of course, I go every Friday, right? And my dad loved it. He loved Juma. He was, and I had to go too. But I would pray. I would say the Salah, and I would understand nothing. They would speak, and they would go on, and I'd like, okay. 2 hours would go by, and the kupa, I didn't understand anything. Could you imagine sitting there in the Juma every Friday? Wow. And my parents decided finally then they were going to move to America. Well, I remember I went into a hearing school, what we call mainstreamed. You have hearing and deaf people, and I was there with an interpreter, and now my language skills really improved at that point, amazingly. Thank you so much to America. You know what I'm talking about. But anyway, we have deaf people have equal access. So, my experiences ever since, it's been tough. I've had to put up with it, but thank you to Allah for His help, my patience to go through this. But that aside, I would like to talk about the Quran. All of you know how important it is to your life. Do you agree? It's so important. But myself, you know, yourselves, you read it, you comprehend, correct? But that was very difficult for me. You have to understand the way our minds work. You process differently than I do. I use sign language, and it's like your verbal language. And it's very hard, in a sense, to translate in our minds. The Quran, I wanted to learn and understand in depth what it meant. I wanted to be able to read it and understand what it meant, what Allah was trying to tell me. I wanted to have that relationship with Him. I wanted that, and I would try. I would read it either way. I'd ask my wife, I'd ask somebody, I'd ask a sister, and still I had to just be patient. I would try my best to understand it, and then one day I met a sister, Sarah, who's sitting right here, and she said, "Oh, yes, we do have an ASL project." My eyes fell out of my head. The Quran you have? Oh my goodness. I was so inspired. I was ready to jump out of my skin. I was so looking forward to it. But we're just in the baby steps of developing it. It's improving, but if you look at, like, let's say YouTube, we have so many videos there. It's better than nothing, of course. Now, brothers and sisters, please donate to Global Deaf Muslim. Global Deaf Muslim, yes, our deaf project. Oh, please. Whether it's $5, $10, 10 cents, it doesn't matter. You would help us have access to the Quran, to communicate with you and communicate with Allah. Do you agree? Thank you, that's great. Really, one more thing I would like to add, brothers and sisters. Please help us, help the deaf community, the deaf Muslim community by donating for Project ASL. So we can read the Quran in ASL, in sign language. And Allah bless you. He will reward you all.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sabata, and I was born and grew up in Pakistan. And I'm deaf, of course. Been deaf my life. And I went to an institutional school there. The education was kind of okay, but my parents would see that it was substandard. And then, but with the Quran, it was very difficult as to how I was going to understand it. My parents wondered what to do. So they met and did some basic ASL conferencing about the Quran, trying to teach it to me. And so I began reading it, and I was kind of okay with that, but I didn't really understand the in-depth meaning, just kind of the Arabic part of it. I can read Arabic, but again, even with Arabic, I didn't understand the meaning. And that was quite frustrating until I moved here to America. Now this has been kind of an ongoing thing, and alhamdulillah, I'm understanding better now the basics. And finally, to be here as a part of Global Deaf Muslim is a huge, huge gift to me. I'm greatly inspired by that. We've been doing so much planning in this regard. We've got a Facebook page up, and we've had speakers and people who are very famous, like Oma and Hamza, and so various names that you'll see on our YouTube videos and on our blog. And as I was watching all of that, I would say, wow, it's just amazing to see the speaker. I was so happy to finally get some of these ideas that were being interpreted, because of course, you can't understand if you're just going to try to lip read a YouTube video that doesn't have any kind of signing on it. I mean, even reading the captions sometimes is really difficult. And in particular, there's some complex words that are very hard to understand and hard to read. They might be if you're bilingual, but if you're deaf and you're using this visual gestural language, sign language is very different. So oftentimes there would be misunderstandings, and maybe you know exactly what I'm talking about. But anyway, thank you so much.
Hello, there, oh, okay, it's back on. Okay, so before I even continue, I would like to mention that our interpreters that we have here today are not Muslim, and they have spent hours and hours learning the different words. They are as sweet as can be, and their level of skill and what they have been able to add to this as far as learning, we take it for granted that I can say, Qala Rasulullah, his nasiha, mashallah, da 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 da. This is not something that resonates normally with our interpreters. They have learned all this in order to be able to offer this service for our deaf attendees that came this weekend. So again, I think it's amazing. In light of this, I'm hoping that you, having experienced this maybe for the first time, maybe for the millionth time, hopefully you'll leave with this with a new sense of knowledge and inspiration. Now with that, I want you all to know how you can help support Global Deaf Muslim. Now many of you are like, oh, I'm going to go take an ASL class. Maybe that'll happen, and that would be wonderful. But maybe that's not going to fit in with your engineering classes or whatever other goals you have in your life. But you still can support Global Deaf Muslim, and here are some ways. First of all, we have a table today, only today. Come visit us, come talk with us, sign up for our mailing list, take a brochure about our Quran and ASL project, and please buy our stuff, support Global Deaf Muslim. All the proceeds go to us, and frankly, I don't want to take that stuff home back to Sacramento. So please support us in that. And also, when you gain this knowledge, go home. Tell people, did you know we have deaf Muslims in the community? Did you know that there are only 3 mosques that offer interpretive services for deaf people? We need to change that. Advocate for deaf Muslims. Ask your mosque, why don't we have interpreters? We have Eid, there's like 3,000 people here. I'm sure someone has a deaf relative. Let's make sure that we have ASL interpreters available for them. And also, we need volunteers. You don't have to sign to volunteer for Global Deaf Muslim. We have many volunteers that help man our booths, help spread the word, help advertise, that don't know any sign at all, but feel the passion to support this group of individuals because they know that they deserve just as much access that we, again, take for granted. Now, lastly, what I would like to do, is there any interest in learning some Islamic signs with our last 3 minutes? All right, okay. So with that, okay, I'm going to teach you Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Beautiful, you guys got it. And just like we would do Walaikum salam, same sign. Okay, Insha'Allah. Insha'Allah. Insha'Allah, you all support us. Yay. Insha'Allah. Okay, MashaAllah. Wow, MashaAllah. Looks fun, huh? Okay. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Okay, Quran. And that makes sense, right? Quran? Okay, other ones. Okay, so takbir, well, I don't know if you meant that in a responsive way, but so we would normally just do the response to that, which we use Allah. So in ASL, they usually use God, but we have one God. It's At-Tahid, he's, Al-Ahad, he's one God, right? So Allahu Akbar, he's above anything else. Allahu Akbar. We've got like 1 minute left. Oh, subhanallah, subhanallah, subhanallah. This one's kind of weird, subhanallah. I don't know why. Others, okay, oh, Prophet Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad. He's on him. Okay, so some country signs to finish us up. You might be interested in that. Palestine. I know we got some Palestinians. Pakistan. Egypt. Or Egypt. Egypt. Kind of some old references there. Morocco. Let's see. Other ones. Oh, okay. Woo, wow, okay. Lebanon. Sorry to say, his finger spelled out S-Y-R-I-A. The interpreter says, I have seen Syria. I've seen another one that uses the middle finger. Not a good one. Iran. Yemen. Y-E-M-E-N. Hassan brought up a really good point. So real quick before I go, thank you for informing. We want our deaf Muslims that are in a situation that cannot afford to go to Umrah to also be able to go with interpreters. So he wanted to make sure to remind you about that. That's another project that we're doing.